Johnny and Daniel have gotten into many arguments throughout Cobra Kai, and the tradition continues in Season 6 Part 1, but this time it was a bit different and it made it a little bit harder to decide who was right. Usually I'm on Johnny's side whenever Johnny and Daniel argue, and most of the time it's because Daniel is being unreasonable and thinks that Miyagi-Do is the only way, or he just lets his anger get the better of him and they get into a fight again. But in Season 6 Episode 5, Daniel stopped Tori from getting the point on Sam, ending the fight. Johnny disagreed with Daniel and thought the fight should have continued, leading them to break up their combined dojo once the Sekai Taikai is over. Now this fight between them has split up the fanbase. The majority of the responses that I've seen so far are on Johnny's side, but I'm gonna have to disagree with that for a few reasons. The main argument I hear from the side that supports Johnny is that if Daniel didn't stop the fight, then Tori would have never joined Cobra Kai. But let's think about what would have happened if Daniel didn't intervene. So in this timeline, Daniel decides that he shouldn't intervene and Johnny can handle it. This means, instead of Tori's punch being blocked by Daniel, it's Sam in the face. We know Tori can break stone when she's angry, and Tori was angry in this scene, so imagine what would happen to Sam if this happened. Sam would most likely not be able to continue the fight since she would be injured badly, which means she probably wouldn't even be able to compete in the Sekai Taikai. This would make Tori extremely guilty, so she might not join Cobra Kai, but instead Tori feels guilty about what she did to Sam. Johnny would also be guilty since he didn't stop the fight, and this would probably lead to Daniel not wanting to work together with Johnny since he doesn't trust him, and this would make them also much weaker in the Sekai Taikai. Hawk would probably take Sam's place, but the outcome would still be much worse than what had happened in the original timeline. Also, the entire situation could have been probably resolved if Johnny hadn't made the comments he did during their argument, making Tori doubt if she wanted to stay at Miyagi-Do.
Because when push comes to shove, you're gonna choose her over me.
No, it's not that, Tori.
Hey, we're not taking sides.
You sure about that?
Johnny definitely had good intentions and made a good argument for Tori needing to let her anger out by fighting, but by doing this, she would be using Sam as a punching bag and it could end up injuring Sam, which is why I think Daniel made the right call by stopping the fight. But for the part of the argument where Johnny says that Daniel treats Mr. Miyagi like he is some sort of perfect being, I have to agree with Johnny on this part.
We don't teach these kids to fight with anger. That's not the Miyagi-Do way.
Oh, please, I'm so sick of hearing that name. You act so high and mighty like Miyagi was some perfect angel, but he wasn't. I heard about his dirty little box of secrets. Mr. Miyagi was a liar.
While I do understand why Daniel sees Mr. Miyagi at such a high level, I do still think Daniel thinks of him a bit too highly. In part 2 or 3, Daniel will probably find out what happened with Mr. Miyagi in the past and realize that he had a dark history but learns to accept that he isn't perfect. That's all for today's video. Let me know in the comments who you thought was right in this scene. Like and subscribe for more Season 6 content, and if you haven't seen my theory about Kenny fighting Devin in part 2, go watch it right here.